Hey, welcome to another episode of the Philosophy Podcast. I am your host, Controversy, and to my right, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host, none other than Mr.
Darren Love.
And together, we are the Philosophy Podcast. Thank you to you guys for tuning in to a brand new episode. Thank you for tuning in once again, guys. You know what I mean? Once again this week. And without further ado, what is on the agenda for this week, mate? What is today's hot topic?
I thought we'd talk about, one of my favourite subjects, I think, positivity.
Okay.
It's a bit like happiness, really,
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
It is a different subject, really, to happiness, isn't it?
I think so. Well, I think happiness and all those kind of things come under that umbrella of positivity, doesn't it? So this week, we're talking all about
positivity.
That's it. What are your thoughts, etc., mate, on positivity?
Well, I just think you've got to be positive in life to survive, haven't you?
Oh, of course. Yeah, definitely.
Survival, and I think, when I get old and I look back on my life, I'd rather look back on it and I've had a positive life, and a good life, rather than a negative, and do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah.
And there has been sort of like parts of my life, I think everyone's life, when you look back in your own history, in your own past, that it's not gone the way you wanted it, do you know what I mean? Whether it was at school, something that happened or something, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we all get a bit depressed sometimes, don't we, with the world we're living in a bit, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we're all, like I said, we're all living in the same world, and I think we all can get depressed.
Yeah.
At times, I think depression is part of life, really.
Yeah.
But I think like you can even be positive when you're sad.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I was sad, I think, you got to push for positivity, really. You got to push to smile in life, I think. And push to do the right thing in life, I think. And
stay strong.
Not do the wrong things in life,
Yeah.
Because you're a failure to yourself when you do the wrong things, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm. Well, you can't expect to do negative things and get positive results.
No.
That is the reality. You cannot do negative things and expect to get positive results. It's as simple as that. And as we know, everything in life is there's a balance between the two, if you see what I mean. There's always a positive and a negative in every aspect of life, everything's like a battery, essentially, in life. But it's, I think, trying to, like you said, having a positive mindset, no matter what's going on, what's happening in your life, what tragedies might have happened, in your life, or whatever trauma you've had to endure or face in your life, or whatever the case may be. Life can be hard for most people. Life can be, we all go through different shit, we all lose loved ones, we all lose friends, we all lose, all sorts of things happens to people over the years. People go through all sorts of shit, whether it be in relationships or whatever the case may be. But the main goal and the main driving thing, like you said, is to try and stay positive throughout it all. Keep a positive mindset, so that no matter what happens, you can pick yourself up again, and you can keep going. Because we all have to keep going. If you just choose to give up and quit and stop and just allow yourself to get down in the dumps and get really depressed and down like low, that can be very detrimental to people. Sometimes to the point where people do things, unfortunately, that are very sad and tragic, if you see what I mean.
You can't
take it back. I'm not, but I won't, divert, won't, go into it too much, because obviously it's, being on YouTube, but, sometimes that's what happens. People get into a downward spiral, as they would say, and they just continue, So as long as you've got a positive mindset, you can bounce back. You can find a way to overcome and to rise again, like a phoenix from the ashes, as they would say, to rise again and, you'd kind of be reborn in a way. You've been through the fire, but now you survived and you come out the other side, So
I think like life is a little bit like a punishment, isn't it? In a funny way, you know.
I don't even see it as a punishment. I see it almost as like a test, like a game, like a game, in a sense, a game of. I think sometimes people even call it that, the game of life, if you see what I mean. I think life is kind of like a test, you know. It's all about. Well, to me, in my own personal opinion, I've said it before, but I'll say it again very briefly. I think the goal of life, in my personal opinion, is continuous evolution and growth as a human being, as an individual, if you see what I mean. Like continuously becoming better, continuously striving to be better, and continuously, improving yourself. You know what I mean? In whatever aspect of your life it may be, it's just continuous improvement of oneself to the point where, as the older you get, the more and more wiser you become, the more, in tune with the universal frequency and kind of like on the right kind of like vibration, and heading in the right direction in life, because you're, so.
Well, it's like next year, hopefully we'll still be doing these shows.
Yeah.
We're on episode number 31 today.
Number 31, ladies and gentlemen, today.
Yeah. But, and that's, quite a lot really, and I think if we're still doing it next year, we might be even better than we are now,
Yeah, I think so.
Because we're striving to get better, and I don't think, you ever stop learning.
No, you never stop. You never stop learning. Until the day until that flat line happens. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You still learning.
I mean, it's like I'm still learning about filming, photography, cooking, everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. All aspects of life.
I think even if you're the best cook in the world, alright, you can't say that you know everything about cooking.
No, you can't, because if you grow up in a region, let's say you grew up in the UK or Europe, you might be the best chef in the UK and Europe in terms of cooking all those dishes. But if you go to another country and experience different cultures and the way that they cook their traditional methods of cooking food and the way they make their meals and stuff like that, he would then have to learn how to make their traditional dishes the way that they actually make them, if you see what I mean. Okay, just a small example. I like Indian food personally. I like Indian food.
I love it.
But a lot of the English Indian food is not traditional. What you would get if you travel to India or Bangladesh or Pakistan or Afghanistan, any of these places that you travel to, where that kind of food kind of originates and comes from. If you were to try it there, it would be completely different to what we get here in the UK. It's kind of classed as kind of like Indian food.
No, I don't know about that.
To a degree, there are some places that you can request to have like. You know what I mean? Like
a lot of these. I went to London once,
Yeah.
And my friend took me out for a meal, and he took me down these streets, and in London you've got like a street and it's full of Indian restaurants.
Yeah.
Right, then you go down another street, it's full of Chinese restaurants. You know what I mean? That's the way it's done.
That's the way. Yeah.
It's phenomenal. And I went down the street and it's full of Indian restaurants. But a lot of these Indian restaurants are really from proper Indian.
Yeah. Well, that's what you want. You want like authentic, like, you know what I mean. But in a lot of places you don't always get that, if you see what I mean.
But anyway, let's go back to cooking, right? There is a phenomenal amount to learn about cooking. Like all the different.
Yeah.
But then you think about, you could make, you could sort of like come up with a new cake. A new flavour, do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's people that do it, don't they? Yeah.
So there's always new things to be made. Well.
And then it becomes popular. And then they give it a name. They call it a such and such cake, if you see what I mean. And then everyone knows what that cake is and requests it. It's like in the UK, like what's that? A Victoria sponge.
Oh yeah.
Most people that grew up in the UK or English or British, whatever, know what a Victoria sponge is, if you see what I mean. Because like you said, someone came up with it at some point in history, and it was. It became very popular. People really liked it. Jam and cream, nice soft vanilla cake. You know what I mean? And it became popular, and then someone gave it a name, and now everyone today, if you go to the shop and say, "Oh, I would like a Victoria sponge," straight away,
that's right.
They know what you mean. What kind of cake you want.
But there's probably certain ingredients to make Victoria sponge.
Oh yeah.
But then you might sort of experiment and make your own Victoria cake. Put double the amount of flour in it. You know what I mean? It's chemistry, isn't it? Really. And you won't stop.
Yeah.
Sort of like learning about you know, I'm sort of thinking in about another 50 years' time,
Yeah.
how many new cakes they might make.
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. How
what I
many
mean?
new creations?
It's phenomenal, you know. I mean, it's an art, isn't it, cooking?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think you can ever stop learning about it. To be honest with you, you know.
No, no.
And that's just one subject, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and there's other subjects in life, isn't there? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I think another one is, you know, taking care of yourself. Do you know what I mean? You know, that is just sort of like, you know, with cooking, you looking after yourself. You know, you got to learn how to cook. You know.
Well, I think the older you get, well, depending on whether or not you're educating yourself as well, of course, because that's important. But the older you get, the more you realise that all the food that you consume, yeah, it's either hurting you or it's healing you. That is a reality.
Mm.
So whatever you choose to consume is doing one of two things. Like I said, either hurting you because it's not the right type of food for your body, or it's food that can make you sick, food that can build up lots of cholesterol in your system and lots of other things, you know what I mean, could give you problems and shit. Or you can consume food that's healthy and good for you, you know what I mean, stimulating to your system and to your body and giving you all the vitamins and natural minerals and stuff that your body needs and healing your body, you know. And I think obviously when you're younger you don't really understand that so much, you know what I mean, because you're young and sometimes people don't always give you this education growing up. They don't always tell you, oh, you know, you shouldn't really be eating too much of that or drinking too much of that or whatever the case. It's like even for me, growing up, I was kind of allowed to consume like a lot of fizzy drinks and snacks and things whenever I wanted growing up, to a degree, if you see what I mean. And like it wasn't good. And when I got to a certain age, I started to realise like all this, you know, drinking certain things too much or eating certain foods too much can make your body sick in the long run. If you make me, it's not going to happen straight away, but consuming it day after day, day in day out, you know what I mean, over long periods of time, it can have detrimental effect on your body because it's sugar. And sugar has a huge, you know what I mean, too much consumption of sugar can have a huge detrimental effects on our bodies, on our organs and you know, etc.
I think our mind as well.
Our mind too.
Spirit.
So like you said, it's all about, you know, it's choosing, it's making a choice, you know.
I mean,
choice,
you know, like when I was younger,
yeah.
So talking about 50 years ago, because I'm getting on now.
Yeah.
You know, when I was about 5, 6, 7, I can remember like going to the shops, you know, and there are sweets in the shops, do you know what I mean, everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, they didn't really know better then, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't really know that these things were bad for you.
Yeah, it could be really like harmful, all the colours and all the sugar.
They didn't
and
really,
all
I don't think in those days they had, you know, like warnings on them.
And no, they weren't. They weren't as kind of like you said. They weren't as like knowledgeable about like the detrimental effects of.
And you know, I can remember sort of when I was younger, I wasn't even taught to brush my teeth.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know, it wasn't important.
Yeah.
And you know.
Yeah.
It's all sort of like grown quite heavily.
But sometimes growing up, you've got to self-educate yourself too, mate. If you see what I mean. Like even.
Well, that's what I've done.
I'm the same as well. Like my mum did her absolute best she could, but she was working a lot of the time, you know.
Same.
My stepfather at the time, when he was in our lives, my youngest sister's father, when he was in our lives, present for a few years, he did care to a degree, I think, but not anywhere near as much as he probably should have in terms of like telling us what we should be doing as a grown up kind of thing, like you know how you know looking after yourself and you know eating well and all these kind of things. He wasn't as interested as he maybe should have been, if you see what I mean, during the few years that he was present, if you see what I mean, kind of as the man of the house during that time period, you know. But yeah, I'm pretty much the same. A lot of the growing up, I had started educating myself too. I was like, you know, looking at, like you said, same thing, like looking after yourself and all these things, like educating myself, like how can I be the best version of myself and what does that entail, you know.
Well, I think me and you kind of had the same kind of life where our parents separated.
Got divorced at a young
age. Right? You kind of lost your dad, so did I.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I didn't really have a dad telling me what to do.
Yeah.
Or helping me, or giving me advice, you know.
Yeah.
What I had is a dad. I mean, he was okay, but he used to drink a lot. You know what I mean? He used to get addicted to drink, and you know, and
he prioritised drink over
Well, you know, like when he finished work, he wanted a drink. Do you know what I mean? Well, he wanted to enjoy his life to the full, in a
Okay.
kind of way, you know. And he
Yeah.
thought one way of enjoying it is working and going out for a drink afterwards. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but that I don't really blame my dad. Do you know what I mean? You know, a lot of men were doing it in those days. Do you know what I mean? When I look back, you know what I mean? There was pubs everywhere and clubs everywhere. You know.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like the in thing to do for a man in a funny way, you know. If they didn't do it, they'd look like a weirdo.
Yeah. It
Do you know
was.
what I
It
mean?
was a normal part of society.
You know,
Like,
in a
yeah.
funny way, yeah. You know,
Yeah.
like alcohol back in those days wasn't really
Frowned upon, or
not really. You
Yeah,
know, it's
yeah.
sort of like, you know, and it's starting to.
But even at one point, let's be honest. At one point, doctors used to recommend smoking.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Years ago, when smoking cigarettes first came around, you'd have doctors telling their patients that having a couple of cigarettes a day was quite healthy and quite
Yeah.
good for you, quite kind of normal, if you see what I mean. And it's not till years down the line, later on, that they've actually discovered, you know, that
I mean,
this
is
shit
alcohol good for you?
No, well, no.
No, I don't
That's
know.
why I don't consume
I
alcohol.
mean, they
like
used
that.
to get, you know, a long time ago. I don't know, you know, like even when I was young, when I was a young baby,
Yeah.
in those days, I'm talking about 60s. Okay, they used to give babies a drop of alcohol, you know, to help them go to sleep. You know, and that went back to 17th century.
Oh,
I
of
think, that
course,
one,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
You know.
I remember even my uncle growing up. He said sometimes that's what he used to do to the kids. He would get his index finger, and rub it round rub his finger around the rim of like one of these alcohol bottles, like a brandy bottle or something, and then he'd like rub it round your gut, rub it on the gums, if you see what I mean, around the gums of the of the young children.
I
And
think it
like,
make a baby cry, wouldn't it? Make me cry.
well, I don't know, but he said that's what I remember being very young, and my granddad, he's passed now, but I remember him saying that, like, that's what they used to do, like,
I know, like, alcohol really stings the eye
Mm.
if you get it in there, you know, like
Yeah.
if you pour vodka on your eye.
Oh, yeah, you can
it
imagine. Yeah.
stings like
Ooh,
anything.
yeah, you can imagine.
But-
yeah.
Funny enough, sort of like after the sting's gone, right, you feel like your eyes are completely cleared out. Do you know what I
Well,
mean?
part of that is the alcohol. Part of that is the alcohol, because as we know, alcohol can be a cleansing agent as well.
Yeah,
If you see what I mean,
that's
like an antiseptic, like antibacterial, like that's why even a lot of hand gels that they've created because of the
Bit of
pandemic and
alcohol
stuff,
in it.
it's alcohol inside,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it destroys.
Yeah, I mean, you
bacteria.
often see it says non-alcoholic and all this, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, alcohol does kind of wash, doesn't it?
It
It's
does
good.
kind of cleanse. Yeah, yeah. That's why some of these, like, you get certain cultures and stuff that might drink vodka, say for example, but the vodka that they're drinking is like pure vodka, pure alcohol. So it's almost like what they're drinking is almost like a medicine, like a medicine in a way. When they consume that, obviously it's not that great for your body, but what it contains probably is cleansing out, probably cleaning out your stomach, if you see what I mean,
I think like maybe one teaspoon of alcohol is good for you, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, but that's about it, I think,
Yeah.
I think it's poisonous.
It's poison, mate. It's poison.
Anyway.
That's why we don't drink, innit?
Well, they
That's
do
exactly why we don't
call
drink.
it spirit, don't they?
Oh yeah, spirit. Yeah.
Spirits.
Yeah. And the reason that it comes from the Arabic word too, called al-kul. A word called al-kul,
Okay.
and it basically meant flesh-eating spirit. That's what it meant.
Probably eats your flesh.
Yeah, basically saying that it destroy you, basically.
Yeah.
It will, Because that's why you get a lot of people that drink and stuff, if they're alcoholics and stuff, sometimes they have problems with their liver and their kidneys. They're consuming so much alcohol, their body can't flush it. If you see what I mean, it can't go through, it's not going through, their kidneys are struggling to flush it, and then the liver gets problems with the liver, and then, all sorts of shit. So,
Best to keep away from, I think.
yeah. Best to keep positive.
That's right.
And trying your best to stay healthy, not only physically but mentally, etc.
But like living in the world we are today, this modern, I go out and about.
Yeah.
And I do see quite a lot of people that are lonely.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah.
Or